Hades 2 has just entered early access. Now this game is an action roguelike dungeon crawler, just a little bit of a mouthful. This game has the player taking the role of Melanie, or Maloney, depending on how you look at it, who is also the princess of the Underworld. This game features a lot of Greek mythology, Greek gods, Zeus, Hades, Hermes, Aphrodite, they're all in there, they're all doing something, and if you ever wanted to get mythical, now is your time. Anyway, so you the player, you go out there and you select what weapon you want to use. There's a big assortment, they're all unlockable, knives and axes and giant witch staffs. This game has it all. Now all of the weapons, they're all fun and unique, and they all have different playstyles, so you can pick the one that you best prefer to use. There are also a ton of unlockables in this game, but they're all done really well. They're all done in a super fun way, and they don't drag the game down, but actually add to the experience. This is unlockables done right. This game features a card system where you can select different cards that give you different perks and different power-ups, and it does this in a few different ways. Not just with cards, but also with ring power-ups that also have their own leveling system that allows them to give you better and stronger perks. And absolutely everything in this game can be upgraded. Weapons, perks, power-ups, unlockables, everything has a system. Everything has got different levels. Character interactions, romances, story, everything has got levels. Everything can grow. Everything can be taken to level 4, 5, 6. Next are the graphics, so they are in this lovely hand-painted art style. Somewhat stylized, somewhat cartoonish, and absolutely fantastic to look at. They're incredibly sleek, they're incredibly cozy, and the entire art style simply screams good vibes. And although they are simpler and on more of the indie level, they're done incredibly well, and it isn't just due to laziness. Now the game world itself is also super well done. Everything is handcrafted here. The hub town, your base of operations, it's constantly evolving, it's constantly growing, it's constantly changing, and it has a very alive feel to it. And again, just like the graphics, it feels extremely cozy. This is the sort of title that you just want to turn your phone off, pull down the blinds, and leave the real world so you can of course dive into this one and take on the full experience. Now this game has non-stop action in all of the combat. It is fast, it is fluid, it is satisfying, and it very much focuses on high skill. Elden Ring players should be made aware of this. If you want to take it to the max, you can definitely do it in this game. Now the game likes to tell you that it's better when it's played on a controller. However, it is much better with a keyboard and mouse, keep that in mind. But of course you got to appeal to those console players. And if you're just tired of playing games that limit you in how good you can be, this is not one of them. If you want to go hard, you can absolutely go to the extreme here. And with enough practice, you can just breeze through the levels. Now there is a lot of variety here, just in terms of absolutely everything, in terms of unlockables, weapons, boons. Yes, the in-game perk system has tons of variety. As we know, there are a ton of different Greek gods, and every Greek god has their own specialty and offers various power-ups with a ton of variety. So you can mix and match, pick the ones that you enjoy, pick the ones that you enjoy playing as, and create some truly unique play styles and experiences. So the game looks great, it runs great, it plays great, plenty of interesting stuff in there, plenty of variety, but there are a few little drawbacks from it. Even though this game is in early access, there's still just a few little problems with it. First off is the amount of variety. This game has got so much goddamn content in it. And as much as we'd like to have a lot of stuff packed into a game and isn't exactly all that interesting, not everything needs to have levels, not everything needs to have systems, but this game has just got so many different levels and so many different systems for just about absolutely every single mechanic, item, whatever. It just goes 3 layers deep for just about absolutely everything. Again, it's just absolutely loaded with content, but not everything has to have a system. Some things can be simple. Next is the dialogue. Now, although the story is pretty good and some of the characters are interesting, there is a lot of lengthy, boring dialogue. And a lot of the NPCs just simply like to talk because they love the sound of their own voice. Although you can absolutely skip through it all, the characters just talk way too much. And it gets into that soap opera level where it's just a bit dramatic, they're being dramatic for the sake of dramatism, and you just need to stop talking. Now, coming back to the NPCs, this game has a huge abundance of British voice actors, and I know why you did this, Supergiant Games, and fuck you. And the main character, the character that the player plays as, is absolutely dull and boring. And it's super funny because there are NPCs in this game that do a much better voice, that have much more interesting story, much more interesting dialogue, that beats the main character. Yes, the main character, the character that you play as, isn't the best, most interesting person there, and it's just a little bit weird. Now lastly, this isn't an actual negative about the game, but more the developer and the series of games that they create. Now, Supergiant Games does make a lot of titles exactly like this. Even though this is called Hades 2 and it is the sequel to the original Hades, this is still just another Supergiant game. All of their games are exactly the same. They all play exactly the same way. They've all got the same stories and the same elements. And each game they put out is just literally a reskin of their original ideas, original concepts. They of course improve on this, add in new details, add in new things there, but this should just be called Supergiant Games Game Number 5. Because that's essentially what it is. Although it is its own little IP, this is still just another Supergiant Games. Just in a different aesthetic, a different art style, but it's that same basic setup. Which is of course a good setup, but now we've seen it 5 times in a row from the same developer. Don't they have any other tricks in their bag? And with this being a sequel, they are of course running out of ideas everywhere. Which can also explain the reason why they've gone for the early access route and gotten a large amount of British voice actors. Overall, this is still a fun game, even with all of its negatives. This is a fun, interesting, fast game to play. Now, in its early access state, they want $30 for it, and it is absolutely worth it. It is extremely playable, and I think there's about 50 to 75% of the full game has been finished, so you're getting a lot of stuff in there. It's not coming up short, and if your gaming roster is just looking that little bit empty, then 100% pick this one up. But if you've got other things to play, you can definitely pick this one up at a later date because hey, it's not finished, it's not going anywhere, and it's still just another Supergiant Games game. Although it is fun, fresh, and new, if you've played any of their other games before, then you've essentially played this one. It's just more of the same.